All right. Welcome, everyone. If you're joining us this afternoon, it's the South Bay Area Regional Conversation. So we're just letting folks into the room. Welcome. Hey, there's Ben Miyagi. Good to see you, Ben. Betty, we've got Joe Miller. Good to see you, folks. And of course, we've got our local leaders in the county and San Jose. Got Connie Martinez in the house. Alexandra Bernowski of SV Creates. Phil Moresco, Philco. Good to see you, folks. Uh, Great to see. Oh, wow, we got so many. Bernadette Cooper. Good to see you, Bernie. Chad Johnson. So many folks. Thank you so much for joining us for the South Bay Area Regional Conversation. And this is made possible, of course, through a partnership with Californians for the Arts, California Arts Advocates, SV Creates, San Jose Arts Advocates, and the San Jose Office of Cultural Affairs. So thank you all for joining us. We're just going to be a couple minutes as we let everybody from the waiting room into the main conversation room. So thank you. Oh, yes, it's good to see you too. Hey, JR. Hey, good to see everybody. Glad that everyone was able to join us on this Friday afternoon. Thanks for taking time out on this, at least in my area, this beautiful Friday afternoon. Just everybody great. Yeah, use the chat. Well, say hi to everybody. Great to be here. And we're going to have a great conversation this afternoon with regards to what's happening, not just regionally, but also statewide, and some updates in terms of some of the advocacy action that's happening through your statewide arts advocacy organization, Californians for the Arts, California Arts Advocates, and of course regionally with SV Creates and locally with Office of Cultural Affairs and San Jose Arts Advocates. So welcome everyone. All right. Got a lot of folks coming in. All right. Yeah, it's about 1:03. I want to also honor people's time. So let's get started. And I'm sure we'll have folks coming in as we continue to progress. Just want to share with everyone that today's meeting and many of the regional conversation meetings are dedicated and are actually Californians for the Arts advocacy in 2021 is dedicated to the legacy of Larry Baza. And Larry, if you don't know who Larry is, an amazing person, a member and chair of the California Arts Council who passed away February 20th from COVID. Numerous accomplishments of this man, recognized as an arts and cultural warrior, change maker, community leader, champion of social justice. He'll be missed across the state and specifically San Diego, where he was based, where he was also the chair of the San Diego Commission of Arts and Culture. So he was a very passionate, committed arts leader. He'll be truly missed. And if you wish, you can also in the chat share, if you knew Larry, a brief kind of reminiscence of Larry. Please do that. We're going to go over the agenda today. It's going to be a tight timeline, but we're starting, of course, with the welcome. Here are the agenda and rules of engagement that we'll be covering. And we'll also be talking about state updates. I'll be introducing our Executive Director of Californians for the Arts, Julie Baker, who'll go over that. We'll have a question and answer period and moderated conversation with everybody who's joining us this afternoon. Then we'll go over to local updates with SV Creates, Carrie Adams Hapner of the Office of Cultural Centers, the Arts Advocates. And then we'll go to a Q&A and moderated conversation, which is of course very important part of this regional conversation. And then we'll talk about some upcoming CFTA programs. So that's our agenda for this afternoon. Right now, we're gonna do some polls, so please feel free to participate. We'll be doing this during the course. So we wanna find out your affiliation. So if you can please fill out the poll there and share with us that information. Do that right now. I'd like to know who's in the conversation and who's in the room. So make sure as that pops up on your screen, you do that. Ooh, a little music for everybody. And also, so that we also know each other in the room, please also in the chat, if you'd like to introduce yourself and your affiliation, feel free to do that too. In terms of meeting guidelines, as I said, introduce yourself in the chat, acknowledge also the indigenous land where you reside. I'm coming to you folks from the traditional and blessed lands of the Muwekma Ohlone. One of the other meeting guidelines, be respectful, courteous of your fellow advocates during this conversation, and be mindful of your own input. No long speeches. We want to try to be as brief as possible. Mute your audio when you're not speaking so that we don't have any overflow in terms of sound, and use the raise hand function if you'd like to speak or put a question in the chat. So those are our meeting guidelines for this afternoon. So right now I'm going to turn it over. Oh, and all the beautiful faces. Right now, I'd like to turn it over to our illustrious leader, our dedicated leader of Californians for the Arts and California Arts Advocates, Ms. Julie Baker. Julie, take it away.
I want Ron to do all the hosting for every meeting I'm on because he's like the best introducer and energy provider. So thank you, Ron. Ron is the Vice President of the Board of Californians for the Arts and California Arts Advocates. San Jose area, South Bay is very well represented on our board with Ron. Also with Carrie Adams Hapner from the City of San Jose Office of Cultural Affairs, who also is helping to present this today. And I'm often in frequent contact with our friends at Silicon Valley Creates, Connie Martinez and Alexander Urbanowski, and they are just tremendous leaders. So thank you all of you for your support to get us here today. And it's great to see so many people on a Friday afternoon to talk about arts and culture and what's happening here in the state of California and also within your own community. I wanted to give you first a verbal update, just quick, a couple of hot items, and then I'm going to go into a little presentation, if you'll indulge me for a minute, on Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month, which is actually starts next week on April 1st, and ways that you can engage in that as well. But I wanted to just start off with some hot topics, including reopening guidelines, which I know is a big one for our sector. It was really the thing that in our very first round of regional conversations that we did last August, we learned that that was really one of the primary advocacy points that you wanted us to be doing. And that's part of what we want to hear today is what's happening, how can we learn from you? We want to listen, we want to engage in conversation after we're done talking in our long speeches and hear what it is that you're feeling in terms of either success or pain points or ways that things that policy and representation should be happening up at the state level. And as your advocacy organization, we can help represent. In terms of reopening guidelines, I actually got a phone call about an hour ago from the administration saying that the purple to yellow tier guidelines will be coming out any moment now for outdoor guidelines only. You've already been given the overview of the guidance that came out on March 5th of what will happen starting April 1st. But now we will actually have the specific guidelines. What I wanted to share is that we created a task force, which many of you here actually have been sitting on, that started, I think, last fall, which was over 50 people from across the state, a wide variety of presenters and performers and venues, from everyone from an individual artist up to Live Nation on the call, talking about what can we do to really pressure and advocate for our sector at the administration to get those guidelines going. And I would say that, this is one of those advocacy success stories in terms of we got to the table. We've actually been invited into conversations directly with the administration and the California Department of Public Health to talk about the guidelines and what are the needs. And so much about advocacy is education. And one of the key pieces is to educate them to the specifics of how our industry works and how diverse it is. So it's not just a one-size-fits-all business model. And particularly when it comes to live events and performances. So I can tell you, for example, I'll give you a quick preview because it's coming out today, so I can share this with you, that, for example, one of the things that was really important in terms of advocacy was that we were very clear with them that if outdoor guidelines were only being allowed for permanent venues, that would not serve our field at all. They heard that, they took that into consideration, and the guidelines have been changed because of that. So that is effective, direct advocacy that we have all been working towards. And I just want to assure you that is continued. And I will tell you that in our relationship and development with the administration and California Public Health, they're incredibly earnest and with a desire to really meet the needs of the field and get us back to business. But they're also balancing that with tremendous public health and safety concerns. So I don't think it's that they're targeting us in any way. It's truly that they're trying to manage an enormous state, an enormous amount of different industries, and making sure that people, when we do get back together, and we do it safely. Our job is to make sure that they knew that we could do it safely. So that's exciting news. We also know that indoor guidelines are coming soon as well. and how critical that is also for our sector. We've educated our officials and the administration that in our industry, it takes often 3 to 6 months or even 9 months and sometimes subscriptions a year for us to be able to book out maybe Broadway touring shows, big touring acts, putting together your own produced theater event, dance companies, and so on. And so this was really, again, an education for them to understand we need a lot of lead time. So we need to know now. We needed to know a long time ago, but for sure now, if we can do things in the fall. So that's happening. So I just wanted you guys to know that, and more to come, and share that with you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and quickly just kind of go through a bit of a presentation around some of the things that we're doing as part of Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. And so that's this month, this April, which is next week. Holy moly. One of the things that we've been really working on is to give you easy tools to be effective advocates. You have an amazing resource in San Jose Arts Advocates with both Ron, and I see Peter here on the call as well, who can really help you on the local level, and we're here for you on the state level. But really what we've been focusing on as the arts are an essential industry, and how do we develop this from not just an individual campaign in the sense of urgency around COVID, but really a movement to establish that the arts are an essential industry in an ongoing fashion. We have 2 big events. We have ongoing social media things that you'll be seeing, lots of videos and other ways that you can share. But we also have Advocacy Week, April 19 to 23. We'd love it if you sign up before the end of the day Monday. If we do that, you will be assigned a captain, and we will set up your meetings with your elected officials directly. We'll give you a sheet of what it is we're asking for at the state level in terms of legislative asks. Again, we'll make it as easy as possible for you to engage in advocacy. If you cannot join in a virtual meeting with your elected official, we'll be doing a letter writing campaign. Again, making it very easy for you to hit one button and sign a letter. And then finally, we have a big convening on April 27th, where we'll really get a chance to get together, share, and study best practices in terms of the advocacy movement. Some really amazing content and panelists and speakers coming to that. So what is Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month? It is our time to celebrate, recognize, and advocate for the significant impact we make in California. Part of effective advocacy is constantly telling our story, effectively telling our story with data and relevant to what is happening in the moment. We have some very specific hashtags for you to share as well. And all of this is available on our website for you to download, and all the images are there for you to download. Just quick background on Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. It was established in 2019 by the Senate in a concurrent resolution. So this happens every year in the state of California. As we increase our own capacity as an organization, after all, we are also a small budget nonprofit arts organization ourselves, you will see the increase in effectiveness and in the work that we do. We can only do that with your support and your help and your engagement. And just quickly, for those who aren't clear on what is advocacy, and you can see some of the great graphics that we've created, again, that you can download. You can put this in your emails. You can put this in your signature. You can put this on your Facebook, your own Facebook page with a, saying, I support the arts and arts workers. But advocacy is the act of speaking on the behalf of or in support of another person, place, or thing. Anyone and everyone can be an advocate. Advocacy is the #1 way we can advance social change that affects the people that we serve and the industries that we want to uplift, in this case, ours, arts and culture. Again, I wanted to just mention the stuff around April 19 to 23. This will give you in the document very specific links, one easy link to upload your information so that we can assign you a captain and get you to those elected officials. Again, the mention of the letter writing campaign. We're going to get into some specifics in just a couple of minutes of what we're asking for this year and what we're supporting in terms of bills and legislation and the budget asks, but we have a big goal, and our goal is to get to 10,000 letters of support. I was talking to a legislative office today, and they were saying that that would be a massive impact, because that would mean that every legislator would get 400 to 500 at least letters in support of what we're going to be asking for, and that would make a big, big difference in terms of them understanding that this is something that needs to be prioritized. And again, I'll get to that. And then our April 27th convening. These are some of the things that you can be doing. Post the images that we're providing on your homepage to show you solidarity with this event. Write a blog post about Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. Many of you are excellent writers, or just talk about the impact of it and mention Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. Add this to your calendar of events, add the logo and link to your website. You can use it on your printed or online materials. Probably everyone's doing mostly online materials right now, so even easier to just adapt and put the logo on there. You can organize a virtual event in your community and talking about the impact of arts and how important they are right now, and how we've been utilizing them over this last year to get through the crisis, as well as how we will be critical to California and your community's recovery. Again, you can talk about it in your own e-newsletters. And one of the things that we've seen incredibly effective in federal advocacy in particular, many of you are probably waiting, if you're venues, I see many of you are nonprofit arts organizations, and if you're specifically a venue, you're maybe waiting for the Shuttered Venues Operators Grant guidelines to be coming out. I think it's April 8th, and excited to apply for that. Part of the reason that that became a priority of the federal government is because live independent venues or independent venues came together, shared their e-lists, and got all of their patrons, subscribers, the people who are desperate to get back to those live events at the end of this and want to make sure that those venues are still there. They sent in letters to their elected officials. So imagine the collective impact and power of every one of us who has databases and e-lists sent out our action alert. We will get to 10,000, and we could really significantly see some change this year in terms of investment. Again, more information about posting on your socials. Obviously, Twitter is really important in terms of political advocacy. That is where most of our elected officials land. We will give you Twitter handles for every legislator. We have that, and their Facebook handles as well, so that you can be tagging them and talking about the value of what you do in the sector. In addition, between April 19 and 23, we will be very specific during that advocacy week of really putting out there our specific asks on, again, and you can tag your elected. You could write an op-ed in your local paper and contact your local media. Some of you have maybe already done proclamations for your local cities or counties as well, establishing it. We'll have very specific talking points for each week that you can share as well. This starts next week, artists are second responders. So again, you can download this today at the end of this meeting. Second week, we'll be talking about how arts bring belonging and healing to the state of California. Third week, we'll be talking about how arts are essential. And again, this is a really critical message that we need to be continuing to really develop for our elected officials. We'll be talking about the economic impact of arts and culture in the state of California, and you can also use local statistics as well. And then, of course, we will also be highlighting the urgent and need for racial equity inside the arts as well. And then finally, and we'll be talking about the empowerment of youth voices and how important it is to lift up those voices and to give them agency as well as a pathway to a creative future. Here are specific legislative requests. We're very excited that we have 2 legislators that have introduced a historic increase, one-time ask for the California Arts Council. Both Senator Ben Allen and Assemblywoman Sharon Quirk Silva have introduced budget letters asking for a $1 per person per capita increase to the California Arts Council. So that would be a $14 million increase to the agency. We've also are sponsoring legislation with Senator Allen as well, who is from Santa Monica and the chair of the Joint Committee on the Arts, for the Creative Workforce Act of 2021. This would be an ongoing legislation to employ creative workers throughout the state and local communities with contracts through your local government, as well as a jobs training for our youth coming out of high school, for veterans returning from active duty, and for returning citizens, because we've had such an amazing success program for arts and corrections. We also are in support of the California Creative Corps pilot program that the governor introduced in his 21-22 budget proposal. We support SB 805. I know Alexandra wanted me to really make sure that I talk about AB 5. So there are 2 pieces of legislation, and Peter Allen, who's on the call too, has been working on 805 as well. Senator Rubio, who you might remember from last year when there were cleanup, what they call cleanup bills to AB 5, was the one who introduced for journalists and newspapers. So she's not the legislator is shying away from the AB5 debate and is looking to work very closely with small budget theater companies, grassroots cultural performing arts organizations, and how we can both support the workers while at the same time making sure that there is opportunity for them within theaters in order to afford to be able to continue to be able to comply or to figure out other ways to do it. So we're in the conversations around that as well. So stay tuned for that. There's another piece of legislation called AB 1227 that Mark Levine has introduced, which would be an exemption for seasonal performing arts. Bills are pretty much in the very beginning of the process. We're in a 2-year legislative cycle. The real work right now is focused on the budget, and then they'll get into the bills as well. But bills have to be either signed by September or they stay in committee and they get discussed the second year, which would be next year. There's also a small business emergency bill for COVID-19 emergency. That would mean that nonprofit organizations, I think it's under 100 employees and small businesses, would be immune from civil liability if you are in compliance with public health safety requests. This is really exciting, and we're working on the details right now, but there's a lot of money coming into California right now. There's $26 billion coming from the American Rescue Plan just to the state, and the state also has a budget surplus. So now is the time and the opportunity to ask for significant funding for the arts and culture sector. As we know, we've been systemically undercapitalized over many, many decades here in California and in the United States. This is the moment for us. So we're going to be making what we call right now the big ask, and that's going to be out of the federal stimulus funds. And this will be buckets of money that would be dedicated to artists and arts workers and the whole of the creative industries. We are working on a coalition ask with NEVA California, with the California Association of Museums and others to make this big ask. So stay tuned for that, and you will have all the details in order to ask for that in your advocacy week. There are other things that we're looking at: unemployment for the self-employed who are in the arts, as well as payroll systems for statewide. So for small budget arts organizations, that if they are going to continue to have to be in compliance with AB5, would have opportunities. Of course, arts education is a big piece. We are not the statewide advocacy organization for arts education. That is Create California, just merged with the California Alliance for Arts Educators. So we're waiting for their specific legislative requests, but we always know how important arts education is to our sector. And finally, what can you do right now? Sign up to be a delegate for Advocacy Week. I'm sure Jade Alicia is putting that information into the chat right now, an easy link for you to get to. Download our media toolkit that I just basically did a quick run through for you. Sign up for April 27. There are descriptions coming, if not already there, on our convenings. And here's one final point I just want to make. All our programs are free. You do need to register, so we know that you're there and coming, and we know what to expect, but they're all free. And we keep them free because we want everything in terms of advocacy and what we do to be accessible for everyone. But we also want to just say that it helps if you become a member so we can keep those programs free for everyone. That's it for me. Sorry if I went over.
No, you were right on it. Thank you so much, Julie. I think we're going to entertain some questions, right? Right now we have a couple of minutes for Q&A regarding some of the things that you shared. And I see that. Thank you so much, folks in the chat, answering each other's questions. That's great. So can help facilitate, I'm trying to do multitasking here. So I know Jade Alicia, Matt, they're also monitoring any of the questions folks have. And it's hard for me to see raised hands. So let's put up right now a poll.
So does anyone have any questions on the stuff that I just presented on, reopening guidelines, stuff happening around AB5, budget asks, any of that? Peter, did you want to talk a little bit more about SB 805 or?
Very, very briefly. We actually just had a strategy meeting earlier today. We have a standing meeting every Friday with primarily performing arts organizations from throughout the state. It is a bill that is deliberately designed to support smaller performing arts institutions who are struggling with the implementation of AB5 in terms of being able to continue to do their valuable programs that promote social justice while also complying with current labor laws. So we are working with Senator Rubio and Senator Ben Allen, who are the co-authors of the bill, to develop a strategy for getting it out of committee and getting it to the Senate floor and getting it passed there and onto the Assembly. The bill will have a hearing on April 19th, which I believe is a Monday, in the Senate Labor Committee. So we are currently working on meeting with the 5 members of that committee to give them background on the bill, take their questions, take that back to bill revisions, and also working with the labor movement throughout California to perhaps not get their support, but at least prevent their opposition. So stay tuned for much more information, and absolutely sign up for the San Jose Arts Advocates email list, because we'll be sending out more information about how you can get involved in advocacy on that front.
Thanks, Peter. And I've been in most of those standing meetings. I just couldn't make it today, but it's been great to see the coalition in action. Alexander, do you have your hand up too?
Well, one, Peter sort of answered. It was just, Peter, will you will let people know when they can help get involved and support? Because I know a lot of people have asked me when is the time for them to write letters and what they should do. So I guess everybody here who's asked me about this question in the past month or two, sign up for San Jose Arts Advocates, and you'll hear from, even if you're not in San Jose, you can still sign up for San Jose Arts Advocates, and they can be your voice because we're all of Santa Clara and San Mateo County on the call. But they're the ones. And then the other question I had was, Julie, related to the funding pieces that you mentioned, again, in terms of when people can chime in on that. I mean, certainly right now, encouraging just to make sure that the arts are top of mind for state and local officials as they think of the stimulus money. But is there anything else that'll be coming down the pike? We know there may be NEA money coming through the California Arts Council. Where should people go? Is it just sign up for your newsletter to know when and where they should advocate for?
Absolutely. I mean, we'd hope that, you know, we try to be the hub for all things statewide and somewhat federal advocacy as well. And we rely on lots of different folks to help us bring that to the forefront. So please do sign up on our website. It's on the homepage at the bottom on the right. And we send out action alerts as well. And one of the things I just want to say is that if we send out an action alert, it's not just because we're trying to check a box. We're doing it because there's a real need to get that advocacy out there and to get us prioritized. I think Connie's going to speak to some of the local stuff in terms of what we are trying to do in terms of helping with federal stimulus funds that are coming. But there's a lot of money right now in your cities and your counties, at the state and at the federal level. There's NEA funding that's I think it was $150 million that just got allocated as well. NEA, NEH through the ARP program. There is Federal Advocacy Week coming also in with National Arts Action Summit through Americans for the Arts, which we also work on. I speak pretty often. I have meetings next week with Congressman Schiff's office. We've had meetings with Senator Padilla's office. You know, there's obviously big links between federal, state, and local advocacy. So yeah, come check, be on top of things with us. And we'll also be, because we're right now, we are supporting SB 805. It's in its sort of transition right now in terms of language, but we're definitely supporting it. So you'll see announcements about that and action alerts from us as well. But the core team doing the 805 work is great in terms of giving tools for that.
Any other questions? I think, Carlo, do you have, I see that you're up. You have a question?
Hi, I'm Carlo. I have a quick question. I kind of looks like it's been answered, but just to clarify. So I know a lot of people have been doing this idea of the land acquisition statement, and which I think is awesome as far as EDI is considered. But when we really try and take a step outside of EDI and take a step toward anti-racism, it becomes this idea of how can we really affect the lived experience of Indigenous peoples over just kind of stating, hey, this is where we are, right? But what are we doing? And so what I've been trying to do is get in contact with a representative to kind of see what we can do as an organization to not just state where we are, what can we do to really push forward and help the lived experience of Indigenous peoples in the arts in our area. And I went to I just like did a Google search and reached out to the Ohlone tribe through that website, but I haven't gotten any response, which, you know, things are crazy right now. So really, I was just wondering if anyone who is doing these land acquisition statements has reached out and actually been in contact with this tribe, and what we can do to make that be more of a priority rather than just stopping at the statement, but seeing how we're affecting that lived experience. So if anyone can just reach out and let me know, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for bringing that up, Carlo. Matter of fact, Arlene Biala of Office of Cultural Affairs, San Jose, has put Kenyon Sarah Roots, who's a really good person, and she says she's going to connect you with that. But I echo what you say. I think it's not enough that we just acknowledge where we are in terms of where we reside in terms of the stolen lands from our Native American brothers and sisters, but what are we going to do actively to make sure that the information and everything that is connected to that happens? So thank you so much, Carlo, for bringing that up. And I see a lot of people who want to be connected as well.
Ron, I just got a question that I thought it came privately to me, but it's something that I should have mentioned, and there's just so much going on, I kind of glossed over, which is the California Relief Grant Program. And that was an actual example of really effective advocacy, which is that we were the only industry called out in the over $2 billion that the state government put towards small businesses and nonprofits for these relief grants. And we got $50 million for arts and cultural institutions. That application actually closes at 5 p.m. today. We got it extended for 3 more days. It has no cap on the revenue. The other programs are $2.5 million and under. However, the legislation did have some very specific NIAC codes, you know, your kind of codes that they track. So some of you weren't able to apply through that. You had to be a 501c3. You couldn't be a fiscally sponsored organization. So there were some restrictions, and also there was some confusion that people felt because the requirements that you had to have your 990s. What we were able to clarify was that you could still apply without your 990 done, and that if you were selected to the next round, you would have to then upload, but you would have time to do that. Because we know for some, for example, we haven't actually, we have an extension for our 990, and so it's not due till the end of May. So some people were concerned. So I just wanted to be clear about that. And we understand that that application process was certainly not perfect. One of the things in working, you know, inside of like the Small Business Administration, which is who got those funds, is that they're not used to doing grants. They're used to doing loans. And so, you know, it's a learning process, which continues with a lot of advocacy to educate our state government on best ways to serve the field. And so it was great to have that money. I hope people applied. It was really important that they did, so that it's not undersubscribed. It will certainly make our big ask harder if we are offering money and people aren't going for it. But we also understand that grants between $5,000 and $25,000, although impactful, will not necessarily sustain our industry through this crisis.
Yes, thank you.
And
so much,
rounds
Julie.
5 and 6 are opening now as well. Sorry. So more rounds are coming. And any small business, and it's a larger, you know, if you're an independent artist, et cetera, you could also apply for those. And we have someone dedicated just to the California Relief Grant Program on our staff, and her name is Tara. And I'm sure Jade Alicia will put her contact information if you have questions specifically about the programs. Thank you. Sorry to go on.
No worry. Thank you, Julie. See, that just goes to show you in terms of so many things that are happening around with regards to arts advocacy. And again, you know, Julie and the CFTA team and the board, we've all been working, you know, tirelessly to make sure that arts and culture is at the forefront of a lot of the decision makers, you know, brains. So thank you, Julie, for bringing that up, because I was just thinking about California Relief Fund and specifically round 4. There you go. Again, and she's putting, Jade Alicia has put up Tara's information there, and it's till 5 p.m. So, you know, you still have an opportunity to do that. What I'd like to do now, I know that we still probably have some questions, and we will be, you know, responding to questions, put them in the chat, raise your hands, but I want to make sure that we cover our also local and regional updates. So right now, what I'd like to do is I'm going to kick it off and provide some updates with regards to, and I think Peter already alluded, so I just want to reiterate, as a co-founding core member of San Jose Arts Advocates, please make sure that you subscribe to our email. One of the things that we're working on right now is addressing the lack of representation of arts and culture, even though he mentions it in his mayor's March budget of arts and culture in the city of San Jose's budget. So please make sure that you check with San Jose Art Advocates and see some of the actions that we're doing. Peter, do you have anything else you'd like to add? I know we're doing so many things also at the San Jose level.
Just that it's not just in San Jose, but everywhere else in California. It's budget season in local government. So if you might have, those of you who are on the Cal Nonprofits email list probably got a great email from them with an open letter to local governments. We are certainly working at the local level in San Jose to influence our government and our leaders, our mayor, our city council, of the need to invest in the arts, and particularly invest CARES, federal relief, the new rescue plan funding in the arts. Definitely stay appraised of that. And then we're also dealing with at the local level a few other issues related to public art, the public art process, how pieces are approved, how they are disapproved, and how we might be able to better move forward in that regard. And then, of course, we're always looking to work on our priorities at the city level, including the private percent for art, which would direct more development funding to directly to public art and art projects and art spaces. Particularly with Google looking to build an enormous campus here in downtown San Jose, we are working actively to make sure that the arts and culture are a huge part of the community investment that Google is making. So stay tuned for action on all those fronts. Thank you, Ron.
Great. No, thank you, Peter. I want to also, make sure that we acknowledge our fellow arts and cultural colleagues from San Mateo County. So I've been in touch with, many of you may know Robin Rodrigues. I don't know, Robin, if you were able to join us this afternoon. She was having some internet issues, but Robin has retired as director of the San Mateo County Arts Commission, but she is still actively involved as an arts champion and arts advocate. So she and San Mateo County Arts Commission Vice Chair Harini Krishnan, I don't know, Harini, if you're on the Zoom this afternoon, are putting together an advocacy toolkit based on CFTA's toolkit that's more localized for arts and cultural orgs in San Mateo County for Arts, Culture, Creativity Month. So thank you so much, Robin and Harini, for taking the lead in doing that. And also, Robin and Harini have offered to be the team captains for Advocacy Week during ACCM to lead the San Mateo County delegation. So if you folks are interested in being, and you're from San Mateo County and cover that area, make sure you contact Robin. I'll put her email in the chat if you'd like to be a part of the San Mateo County delegation. And since Robin has retired from her position as director of the San Mateo County Arts Commission, the contact, and she's on the call, thank you so much for being, oh, Robin's here. Judah Tomasov, who's the Chief Legislative Aide. So Robin, do you want to also give some shout outs? Thank you so much for joining us. You made it.
I did. I was able to make it. So Harini and I are looking forward to having the same kind of fun we've had the last 2 years, especially the kickoff 2019. That was just wonderful in Sacramento. And I am currently in the process of working on a toolkit, which God willing, will be ready for San Mateo County arts organizations. We're sort of customizing it to San Mateo County, and it should be available next week so that an advocacy toolkit, I should say. And so hopefully, like I said, God willing, it'll be ready at the beginning of the week for you to use, not only during ACCM month and advocacy week, but in the future as well. And so that's about all I have right now.
Great. Thank you so much, Robin, for all that you do, the arts champion within San Mateo County, and also to Harini. And I will also put Judah's email address, artscommission@smc.gov.org. Or Robin, if you could do that, she'll be the major contact for San Mateo arts and cultural organizations. Right now, I want to turn it over to Carrie Adams-Hapner, Director of the Office of Cultural Affairs at San Jose, in City of San Jose, to provide us with some updates within her realm. So Carrie.
Hi, everybody. Hey, reporting out from San Jose City Hall. Great to see all of you. I'm Carrie Adams-Hapner. I go by she and her. I'm also a very proud 13-year board member of Californians for the Arts and California Arts Advocates. So I'm very proud of that organization, and I just want to thank Julie and Ron and the entire team for all that you do. And it's so great to see so many arts leaders with us, who I'm just so grateful for. And I really do see our work is at that nexus between cultural development, economic development, and community development. And here in the OCA, we do a lot of different programs. It includes grants, which is very important to all of you, I know. We also do public art. We coordinate as well as produce special events. And that includes things like We Create 408s, which is happening in the month of April in accordance with Arts and Cultural Creativity Month. So please tune in to We Create 408 and express yourself. We also do a lot of work with cultural policy, and then we are in partnership with the San Jose Arts Commission, and Dr. Smita Garg, who's the current chair, is on this call. So I just want to say thanks to everybody for all that you do. Obviously, economic and community and arts resiliency is incredibly important right now. So you've heard us all talk about the importance of the arts in our community healing and our economic healing. And that goes back to all the points that were previously made, is that we need to advocate at not only the state level, but also at the local level to ensure that we receive funding to offset the downward TOT revenues that fund our arts grants and all of the other revenues that the arts community has experienced loss in. So I know that there's a lot of advocacy happening at the state, also locally with San Jose Arts Advocates. The San Jose Arts Commission is very much at the front and center of that, as is our partner, SV Create. So I just want to thank all of you for all that you're doing. And then, of course, in the midst of all this, we've been experiencing incredible difficulty in terms of racial justice. And we really want to ensure that we're centering equity in everything we do. And that includes our funding of the arts. So, you know, we are going to ask you not only to support the economic recovery, but also to ensure that we are centering equity in everything that we do. So stay tuned, stay active, stay involved at all these levels, and to the extent that you can. I know that, you know, we're all dealing with our own financial issues, but support your local and statewide advocacy organizations. We can't do it without you. So I encourage you to become a member of both of these organizations. And then just finally, I just want to say one final note, which is really important to me personally as a leader. You know, we can't do this. We need to be collaborative at this time. We need to work together. We need to be working in with each other and in support of each other in partnership. So I just want to kind of leave with those very important words that, you know, we can't go it alone, and we need to stand and unified. So thank you very much for the time, and please let me know if you have any questions for me.
Thank you so much, Carrie, for that update, and also for your dedicated service, 13 years on the boards of Californians for the Arts and California Arts Advocates. It's just amazing in terms of what you've contributed to in that time. I want to turn it over now to Phil Maresco. Most of you may know Phil. Philco is the company that he has, and Phil is just a multiple skilled person, but he's going to talk to you in terms of what he's been doing with regards to collaborating with Santa Clara County. Phil, share with us what's going on, mister.
Hi, thanks, Ron, and thanks, Carrie, for your leadership. My name's Phil Maresca from Philco Events, and pre-COVID, I was an outdoor event producer, but last May pivoted to a testing and vaccination site, logistics and staffing. So I have kind of an inside view of what's happening on the county level, and work with the county on setting up their testing and vaccination sites. So it gives me a chance to kind of see their policies in practice, which is interesting to me. But talking about what's happening next, as Julie mentioned, the information is changing daily, but really good news about outdoor performances and what's happening soon. I wanted to talk about a couple things I've noticed. One really interesting thing, Julia mentioned Disney earlier. I saw Disney has a program now called the Taste of Disney, and for $75 you can go to the park. No rides are open. The characters just wave at you from a distance, but you can buy food and drinks and merchandise. So what this says to me is people are dying to get into Disneyland, and they'll pay $75 just to go buy merchandise. It's kind of a mind blowing, but I want to kind of take this to all of you and say they know their audience. They know what they want and what they need, and that's what's going to help us all make that change. Want to call out some friends, City Lights, San Jose Stage Works. I see you guys here. Thanks. You guys have all done really well in pivoting to online programming. Cinequest is happening this week here in San Jose, and they are doing all their films online, but they've also had, if you haven't checked it out, their VIP lounge for meetups is in a virtual space called Gather.town. And there are other virtual spaces out there that if you're not aware of, you should check them out because it gives you that opportunity to provide interaction. One of the things that I did with my event back in April of last year, we were one of the first ones to kind of put on an event once COVID began. And late April last year, we did it all online, but we made sure that there was interaction because I believe that one of the big reasons people go to outdoor events is to interact with each other, not just to sit passively and watch a band. So interaction is key. I think that online programming, you're all doing a great job with it. It's not going away. Don't look at it as a replacement. Or as a temporary replacement. You really need to incorporate online into your future programming. One of the big words you're hearing now is hybrid events. And I'm doing a couple of hybrid events this spring that are music festivals. And using online platforms, I use a platform called spatial.chat. And what Spatial does is it allows you to actually have interactions with other people in the room while you are watching a show. You can have a conversation, not just one-on-ones and not just chat. You can have your video, their video, have an actual physical conversation in this spatial environment. I believe the reason this is important is because we're in orange now, we're going to yellow soon. This is all great news. We're going to have some guidelines for public events, but they're going to be limiting. They're going to tell you how many people you can have in a space. And so it's really important to say, okay, for the people who A, can't make it to that space, and B, aren't comfortable being around other people yet, what can you provide to them? What kind of a similar experience can you provide to them? So that's one thing that can think about. I don't want to take too much more time. I just want to say some of the keys I see to opening. And Carrie, I'm going to point at you. The permitting agencies need to be flexible and need to understand that we as outdoor events need to get out there and we need to try new things. And so having that flexibility while still keeping safe. I mean, I know all the ways to keep safe, and I know how the county does. I work their sites. So having that flexibility is important. The good news, again, outdoor performances need to be considered the same as permanent venues. We need to be able to just because we're not an outdoor theater or don't have an outdoor performance space doesn't mean our performances are less important. We should be able to use parks and outdoor parking lots and whatever we want to do to put on our events. To all of you, I implore you, you have great marketing departments. I hope your marketing change as well as return. It's great to say we're coming back, but you need to make sure that everybody's ready that things are going to be different when they do come back. And so to be able to say that. And don't forget about interaction. And that's, again, so important. And with my events, we make sure that that face-to-face interaction is part of the event experience.
Great. Thank you so much, Phil, for those updates and also for providing perspective as an events coordinator. Can you please also put in your chat your email so other folks may also want to reach you?
Yes, I did right when I started speaking.
Great. Thanks so much, Phil. Phil Maresco, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to also turn it over last, but certainly not least, to Connie Martinez, CEO of Silicon Valley Creates, AKA SV Creates, to give us a good perspective in terms of the county. Connie, you're on.
Yeah, hi, Ron. Thank you so much. And thank you, Julie, and everyone for being here today. It's great to see some of our kindred spirits. So it's always a challenge to be last when you're trying to share something new when so much has been said, but I'll underscore some of what's already been said. Phil, and your report out, I really do feel bullish on the demand side for the arts. And so I think it, just to kind of restate, being ready for that demand, you know, to safely reopen, and also within that digital market space, I think those who are able to combine will do very well. Some of you have heard my concept of the Roaring 20s following the pandemic of 2018. I really do think this decade's going to be, you know, significant for the arts. And as Carrie said, and others, equity is a centerpiece. I think those who put it at the center in combination with the managing their demand and the digital environment, I think will be well positioned. And some of you may remember when we were first ACT way back when we published an insert to the Business Journal on the profile of our ecosystem. And we're going to do that again. And so it will be published in the May timeframe. And a couple of things, we've gotten some of the data back, and I'll share just a couple of highlights that I think is relevant to this conversation. And one is that, and I was surprised, you know, the 501c3 marketplace grew by 60% in terms of number of organizations in Santa Clara County. During this last 10 years. And it was dominated by culturally specific startups. So that goes hand in hand with our breadth of diversity. So that's, you know, I just think the 60% was the surprise, not that it was culturally specific. But with that, I think, as everyone said, I think the need, well, first of all, COVID provided the platform in many ways with a sense of urgency that I think we're all trying to leverage. And I think, Julie, your efforts have been incredible, but what it really speaks to is that as our industry sort of leans smaller and more nimble and culturally specific, the banding together will make all the difference in the world. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing today. And that's what we'll continue to do. So on the SV Creates front, our priorities, of course, are to help folks like Carrie make sure she gets the fair share of the recovery funds from the city. So I think we can all help there, stay close to Julie and the feds. Most of you, or if you're not, let us know, should be on our weekly newsletters. So we're giving, that's a place to find any updates and, you know, new things that can be done or what you can do to help advocate. So I actually do believe, and Alexandra and I say this so often, we've done more advocacy in the last 10 months than the previous 10 years. And so I think that's going to accelerate. And this is the moment for it to also deliver. So we're very, very excited. Lastly, we are working hard to make certain that, you know, just as Carrie has lost the transient occupancy tax, so have we. And we're working hard to backfill. It's looking good in terms of trying to keep our portfolio whole through this next year. So we're optimistic about that, and incredibly impressed with the resiliency and the creativity of our leadership. So bravo to everyone, and thanks again to the California advocates. And, you know, anything you can do to join up and stay involved will be appreciated by many and felt by this community in a very deep way. So that's it for me, Ron.
Great. Thank you so much, Connie. And I just want to acknowledge the immense work that SV Creates is doing. I mean, you've been a key partner regionally with Californians for the Arts, California Arts Advocates, as well as very supportive of San Jose Arts Advocates. So just kudos to you, Alexandra, and your SV Creates team for doing the work and always stepping up. You're the model for all the other regional arts, agencies to follow.
Hey, Ron, can I just add in?
Sure, Jolie.
I put in the chat a little bit earlier, there's a lot of things in the chat, which is awesome, and we love that interaction. But we created a template, we created a letter that we sent out to all the state local partners to the California Arts Council, which SV Creates is, for example, one, that is written on the California Arts Advocates letterhead urging Board of Supervisors to use their federal stimulus funds in support of the arts and culture industries in the local government. I know that Connie has already utilized that letter, and we really encourage advocates to support the local advocacy, how important that is. All politics are local. So make sure you're following what they're doing, because there's opportunities for us to get funding at the state level. There's also opportunities for us to get funding at the local level. And we need to be working, as Carrie so eloquently said, together to get to these opportunities that we will not see again in another generation, likely, for immense amounts of funding that are coming into our state. And we just need to make sure that the priority is put to our sector once and for all.
Thank you, Julie. And for those, because I know that folks always have questions about this, what is the distinction between California Arts Advocates and Californians for the Arts?
Oh, just quickly, one's a nonprofit, C3, Californians for the Arts is really our mission, is to build public awareness of the value and impact of the arts, culture, and creative industries. That's where we do programs like Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. That's where we do a lot of media advocacy, because advocacy is very important to get your word out in a lot of different ways, and social media and such. California Arts Advocates is our direct lobbying organization. We have a C4, we have a lobbyist, and that is where we really directly try to influence budget allocations and legislation, and where we are also sponsoring and working directly on bills and things like that.
Great. Thank you so much, Julie. So one is the lobbying arm, that's California Arts Advocates, that's our C4. And then the sister organization, which promotes education and awareness, is Californians for the Arts. And we push, individual members as well as arts and cultural organizations to join Californians for the Arts, and specifically larger institutions to join California Arts Advocates, because then you can also be integral in helping us in terms of our lobbying efforts in Sacramento, as well as federally, I should say, right, Julie? Federally as well. So I want to leave some time for some questions. We're doing really well. Folks, and thank you so much for also utilizing the chat option. Folks are asking questions there, and we're responding quickly with links and everything else. But are there questions on some of the local and regional updates that have been provided, or even for Julie and the CFTA team with regards to all the info? I know it's an hour and it's a lot of information. But also know that we're available here for you folks to be able to, answer questions even after the conversation. This conversation's ongoing. So you see any questions, Julie or Matt or Jay Alicia, from folks here? I think they're absorbing everything in, huh? It's just like.
It's a good thing we're all fast talkers.
I know. And that's something we learned, because when you do meet with legislators, right, they'll only give you a few minutes of their time, so you have to be able to get that ask out in a short period of time.
And one of the things I want to say about meeting, and I see Alexandra, you have your hand up, but I just want to say one of the things is that sometimes people are disappointed when they meet with staff instead of the actual legislator. And I just want to really be how important staff is, because they are the ones who are really developing the case building, the legislative language, the budget request language, all of the things. They're building that. The ultimate decision maker on what a legislator chooses to prioritize and bring forward, because they're often limited on how many things they can handle, comes down to the legislator. But the staff is there to be your champion inside. So please don't ever be disappointed you get a staff. Develop that relationship just like you do with your donors, any funders. Same thing with advocacy.
Right. Thank you so much, Julie. Alexandra, you have
Well, I just wanted to thank you, Julie, and your team for hosting these regional conversations around the state. And just one quick little thing, is there anything, you've hosted what, 6 or 7 of them regions? Is there anything significant other people are saying that we're not, that you think we would want to know?
It's so interesting. We've actually done 9. It's an enormous state. So we split up the state by 9. We could certainly make it even more, but we only have so much capacity to do these. Everyone's kind of a different region. One of the things that you have is such effective local advocacy. Not every region has that. And so you are well informed by all the types of people that we've heard from today. So, in other regions, they don't have a local or regional advocacy organization. So they're struggling to kind of figure out how to affect local change. So it kind of depends on the region and what are the pain points. And what I wanted to say also is that my information, will put my contact information in there. I really want people to feel that we are accessible and available to you. So if things come up and you're not clear on something, or you want to learn more, or there's something, one of the things that we really want to be understanding right now is where are the gaps? Who is not being served by all this money and funding opportunities that have come out? Who is not? Who's falling through the cracks? And whether that's an organization or an individual, we need to know about that, because that helps us to understand where new priorities need to be made.
Great. And I also want to address, one of our core members, Julia Canavese, brought up in terms of accessibility, because we know that, it would be great to have a signer, or in terms of also making sure that accessible for other abilities are important. So know that, we're going to be continuing to work on that. Julie, do you want to also?
Yeah, and I just am terrible because we have live transcript and I just turned it on, and I apologize to everyone that just happened right now. So yes, we're going to continue to really make sure that, everything that we do is as accessible to everyone as possible. Our convening, we will, believe we'll have language, an ASL interpreter, as well as the closed captioning. And one of the things that's really important to us, I think I mentioned early on, is making sure our programs are all free. That's our goal, is to keep it that way, but at the same time trying to build capacity to be able to serve the diverse needs and the ongoing and increased needs of our sector. So, that is a balancing act that we do with, thankfully, with membership support and foundation support, and hopefully someday, like all of us, figuring out earned revenue strategies, which we will do. But, we appreciate support if you can do it. Not a hard ask here.
Thank you so much, Julian. Thank you for that reminder too, Julia. And also I want to, we've reached the time, and I want to honor everyone's time. Again, I want to thank our partners. Speaking as the Board Vice President of Californians for the Arts and California Arts Advocates, this would not have been made possible were it not for SV Create's involvement, Office of Cultural Affairs, in terms of City of San Jose, as well as San Jose Arts Advocates and all of you. So, on behalf of all these organizations, thank you to our arts and cultural champions, all of you out there, for doing the work and ensuring that arts and culture are always being heard. So we have so many links that are in the chat. Know that this is being recorded. So if you need to revisit it again, it will be made available, I believe, also with the chat. But again, as Juliet said, we can't do this without your support. So become a member of Californians for the Arts, California Arts Advocates. If you are a large organization, even mid-sized organization, subscribe to San Jose Arts Advocates and SV Creates. Also, City of San Jose's Office of Cultural Affairs has a newsletter. Make sure that you subscribe to these folks so we can all be on the same page, as Carrie had said, in terms of communication and working together collaboratively to ensure arts and culture always remain at the forefront of decision makers and our electeds and the community. So with that, I think that's it for this afternoon. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Connie, Phil, Julie, who else? Just Peter, all the folks out there.
Alicia and Matt from our team.
Alicia, Matt from CFTA, and all the folks out there. So thank you again, everyone. We'll see you.